All right, and we're going. Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is Rada. She's a very special guest. She is the one that created Sea Change Holistic Healing. Sea Change Holistic Healing. That's right.
Yeah.
She's actually a shaman. She's on her own spiritual path. So I thought I'd invite her to my podcast so, we could learn a thing or two from her. Because she has a mentorship program where she actually mentored someone else that we had on the podcast, Maddie, which was super interesting. How'd you guys meet, by the way?
Actually, we have known each other for a really long time. We had connected friends, and so I actually met her at a music festival one time. And she does a lot of flow, dance, and art, and she's actually the reason why I picked up a hula hoop. So I actually do that type of flow and arts myself. So we didn't really keep in contact. And then whenever I started promoting for my business and my mentorship program, she reached out to me. And so it wasn't,
okay.
It was 10 years later that we reconnected.
Interesting. Hey, you're helping her. She speaks very highly of you. So do you consider yourself a shaman?
Yeah, I would consider myself a shaman in training. Yeah.
A shaman in training.
Yeah.
What would you say a shaman is, per se? I mean, I know what it is, and I'm sure a lot of other people know what it is, but what would you consider someone who's a shaman?
Well, the shaman works in the three worlds, so above, below, and in this physical realm as well. And so it works from a multi-dimensional type of view, non-dualistic, this or that, good or bad. So what a shaman does is, when you're working with somebody, you have to see things from a larger perspective in order to find the right modality that's going to have the soul respond to the most, expansion, essentially. And so there's multiple different truths, right? But which truth is the soul going to respond to the most for a profound expansion? And so there's certain tools and modalities that you would use for certain things. So when there's trauma within the body, we use shamanic tools. When you're trying to, bring out a frequency within yourself that is an embodiment, if you
Ooh.
feel like you lost a part of your innocence due to some sort of trauma, that would be a soul retrieval. And so those work on the different worlds. So embodiment would be the above realm, and the soul retrieval would be in the below realm, which essentially is our ancestors and ancient wisdom, and connecting with that and bringing it to the forefront. And then above is these higher frequencies that we try to connect to and bring out within ourselves until we realize that we are all of it. So it kind of helps pave this path, the dharmic path, so it's right action, essentially selfless devotion and acts of service that connect you to divinity and your source, and then all of that, how it manifests and cultivates and creates in the physical realm. How you shift.
Curious. What will be some shamanic tools that you use? And what would you use it for? Now I'm just curious. Tell us more.
I use Tibetan tools. So there's different ones. Right now I'm working with, there's I have a Shiva knife and that I use for cord cutting. So cords are connected to person or through some sort of trauma experience. Energetic cords can only connect through wounds. So any sort of codependent type of relationship that you don't want to let go of, or some sort of trauma, sexual abuse or abuse in general. So we would remove that connection to that person or that trauma with a cord cutting. And then there are Purva, which it's a dissolution type of tool that dissolves negative energy.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a tool legitimately that dissolves negative energy?
Yeah, but it's
kind of like a sage?
Yeah, kind of. It dissolves dark spots. So So it's like psychic surgery is what we're talking about here. And so you would have somebody lay down and kind of prepare the area that you're working on and open them up psychically. And then you would use the purva to kind of dissolve the dark spots surrounding the trauma.
Down the rabbit's hole.
Yeah, and so there's mantras.
So how would you open them up psychically?
So yeah, like that's what the knife is for. You pick but there are mantras that are connected to this, like different like mantras that I use, and that kind of like bring power and manifestation to this practice essentially. And so yeah, I use a knife to like open it up, but what you're working on is the emotional body. You know, you're not just working on the physical body itself.
Okay.
It does like interact, it's intertwined, but you're working, so you got to look through here instead of through your two eyes.
Or your heart, in a sense, or your pineal gland, your third eye. Okay.
Yeah. And there's a dorje that kind of brings in frequency that you use with the bell.
Are you looking at your board right now?
Yeah, I'm looking at my
your
tools.
Altar. Okay, cool. All right.
But yeah, that's essentially what I use. And there's also like extractions, where you take some water, you're removing a lot of negative energy that's really created an imprint.
And did you say you put it in water?
Yeah, so I would drink just a little bit of water, but hold it in my mouth. And an extraction is like where you slurp up, like breathe, sucking in the negative energy and then spitting it out. That's
interesting. So when I was a kid, my parents took me to a witch doctor, which is kind of like forbidden because my parents, we're kind of Christian, but we're not. So I used to have really, really bad night terrors, like beyond nightmares. And it would keep me up at nights. I would be terrified. I would run to my parents, and this was consistent. And then they took me, apparently I was laying down, and it was this old lady. And apparently she would just, I don't know what the hell she did. I was a little kid, but she'd whisper some stuff. And she got this metal piece and she dropped it in water. And I think I'm making the connection now between water and getting rid of negative things. And then she took the metal piece out after she whispered into my ear or something. She's like, just put this under your bed for a couple of days. And then like slowly it just started going away.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like some old school magic stuff. I don't know.
Right. Exactly. And and essentially she had to get something for your soul to respond to make that shift for yourself.
It's funny, a couple of months ago, my parents I think they were driving somewhere, and I called them because I randomly thought of it. And I was like, Mom, Dad, remember you guys took me? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, why would you guys take me there? Like, you guys don't even believe in this stuff. And they're like, well, because it works. I was like, what? I was like, okay. So that's just another way, like when you said getting rid of negative energy, I just started putting the dots together.
Yeah. So
tell me how people can raise their vibrations. Or maybe vice versa, how people like unconsciously lower their vibrations. Because I'm guessing if you're angry or pissed off, you tend to just lower your energy.
Yeah, well, I feel that it's the main journey is to become self-realized. You're on the path to self-realization. And the journey is the destination also. And so it's like you're getting to know yourself on the deepest of the levels ever and exploring all that is you, and it's infinite. And so, anger, all these emotions that are coming up, the way that I look at emotions, they're like energetic visitors that just want to be felt. And so essentially they're going to keep coming, knocking on your door until you fully feel that emotion. And it's just like the shadow wants to be seen. There's always like these paradoxical type of the whole universe and the way things are. But there's always this root connection to certain emotions, and anger is an interesting one because it can be connected to grief. So it's like if you need to allow yourself the space to grieve. And grief can look a number of ways. It doesn't have to always just be, you know, somebody actually dying. It could be grieving a relationship, a friendship, a falling out of some sort, and just allowing yourself the space and time to grieve. And that I do a lot of that type of work with my clients as well. Like, we go into a place where I'm like, okay, you're gonna grieve, and so you're gonna throw a child temper tantrum. And a lot of people feel like they haven't even got the opportunity to express that. And so even then it makes the shift, even just having that one moment.
Is that kind of like shadow work?
Yeah, in a way.
People consider shadow work?
It's all connected. Yeah, it's all connected. Okay. But the shadow is a little bit trickier because it can be sometimes in connection to shame imprints, which can rock your emotional body a lot as well. So essentially, like, you got shamed for something when you were younger and it imprinted you. And so your ego and your shadow got together and created this programming and this patterning to keep you safe. But at the same time, because you're like, I'll never do that again. And so I'm going to like reconfigure my entire life from this day forth to be a certain way. But at some point it's going to hold you back. So you have to kind of go back into that shame imprint and fully see what needs to be seen in that. And that's the shadow aspect of it, is that you just need to see. It's just like admitting to yourself that you either like something or seeing something in yourself that you don't want to see. And the shadow there's a whole spectrum of it. So the shadow, there's a completely unconscious part of your shadow where you have no idea that it's there. And then there's parts of the shadow that you know is there, but you choose not to see it. Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge. Yeah. Bring it to your conscious mind in a sense. Okay, but it's there. It's lurking. You're not even aware it's there. Yeah. How would you bring that up? Would it be like hypnosis? Would it be like you just sitting there during meditation? What would be some ways of bringing that up?
For anybody or
generally, you're working with someone.
Oh, okay.
You're the practitioner.
Well, usually what I do is I work with archetypes. So there's an archetype deck by Carolyn Miss, and it's a big recommendation of mine. But essentially, it's like all of these archetypes are a part of you and your queen or kingdom. And so there's 4 main archetypes. You have your queen, you have your warrior, you have your lover, and you have your magician. And then all of these, this deck kind of follows underneath all of those like main ones. So you can pull like a card to see which archetypes are in your shadow. So this deck actually shows you the light attributes and shows you the shadow attributes of it. And so you can see like which archetypes are out of alignment for you. Even by pulling the card, you know, if it's completely in the unconscious, you still brought it to the light a little bit, so it won't hold you as much as it did. It's like these little mini reality types of shifts. So that's one way. And then, you know, throughout my program, the shadow gets revealed a lot because we go into inner child healing, trauma, programming, ego, shadow work. And so the shadow starts showing up in everybody in their own unique type of way. And so we learn how to like bring light to those parts of them in order to, so what the idea is that you bring these archetypes into the light to serve your queen or your king, your sovereign queen or king. So if you're out of alignment, you know, because your queen can be a tyrant queen or tyrant king. So always in control and things have to be this way or that way. And so if it's like a queen issue, you have to learn how to navigate that space. Like, how can I release control? What is, you know, getting connected to your source would be another one. Like whatever you feel connected to.
Your higher self.
Yeah, your higher self. Jesus.
Jesus, whatever
Durga,
you're into.
Yeah,
I
whatever
get
you're into. And then like your warrior would be, you know, lack of a warrior energy is like if you can't if you don't have the discipline. Your warrior helps you to transcend your ego. So if you're lacking in your, light warrior, then your spiritual practices are probably not fully in alignment.
And these archetypes, are there is the goal to kind of like make them all kind of aligned with each other, not one overpowering one another?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
accurate? Because
at the end, like if you have your whole queendom or your kingdom and it's light, then that's you made it, you did it.
Cool. Okay. And okay, so you're saying you help people raise their vibration. Is that like through Kundalini breath? Is that like just showing gratitude? Is that like, I don't know, just donating money to charity? Can you elaborate on that a little more? And how can other people watching this raise their vibration?
Yeah. So, well, what me personally, how I navigate that space with my clients and stuff is that I provide like energetic transmissions and initiations. So like these rites of passages and these, so I am a channel of Shakti, which is a form of Kundalini. So, I am a channel, and that's also like from the shamanic point, standpoint of like chi energy. So something outside of my own energy that's channeling through me. So it's not really up to me, essentially what sometimes these transmissions are. Yes, I have intentions with certain areas and the chakras and things of that nature, but it's, essentially like this bigger picture of like my higher self and the guides and their higher self all coming together to figure out what is in the highest and best benefit for the client. Now, along that journey, as part of their integration, they get connected with what's called a sadhana practice, which translate to, it's like spiritual practices that help to transcend the ego. And so there's this, in the Ramayana, Hindu text story, Hanuman is a servant of Rama, which is an incarnation of God. And so he's saying, when I forget who I am, I serve you. And when I remember who I am, you and I are one. And so that's initially the idea of what sadhana provides. It's like whatever you're connecting to in your source, whether it's your higher self, Mother Mary, Ananda Mai, the universe itself, is that you are becoming one with this source. And so, and if you do forget that you're one with it all, then you keep practicing, you keep serving, you keep, you're in devotion and things of that nature. So sadhana can look like meditation. It can look like breath work, and it can look like, eating sattvic foods, so like higher vibrational foods. So like raw vegetables, or like fast is what I do. Like I notice, like
I love fasting. I love
that's
fasting.
been a really big shift for me, is fasting, even for a day or just all day, and then at night just have some fruit or something. But that has been really profound for me personally.
Like I haven't ate anything today. Technically, I'm fasting. I listen to my body. If I was to eat like 3-4 meals a day, I really gain weight and get fat. So I just try to eat like once a day or once every other day.
Yeah.
And I feel great. Like people are like, "That's really unhealthy. You're gonna get sick." I was like, "Dude, do I look sick?" Like I exercise 5 times a week. Like I just listen to my body more now, and it's just really helping me out. Like my heart rate, I have a heart rate monitor. It starts going down. And you could say it raises my vibration because I don't have like food inside me that needs to digest.
Right. Exactly.
And if I get hungry, I can just go eat.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also I would cold showers, ice baths.
Yeah, I do that too.
And the Wim Hof breathing technique.
The Wim Hof breathing technique. I don't really do that too much, but I do the cold showers. I did 2 cold showers today already. And I started experimenting because I do the cold shower like midday because I work from home. And I take like a 3-minute really, really cold shower. and it really helps. But now I'm doing it in the morning, right after my morning meditation. Right when I wake up, I meditate, and then I jump in a cold shower for like a minute or two. I could literally tell my heartbeat has dropped about 10 beats per minute. My resting heartbeat for the whole day. So that means I have, I don't know, 15% less stress, which is amazing.
Yeah. And that's the idea. Yeah.
That's amazing.
You're getting your mind quiet. And, you know, people whose nervous systems are a little bit more rapid,
wired.
Like mine, like there's a whole journey for me to get to a place of stillness, you know. The cold showers and the ice baths are profound.
Okay. How else would you recommend that people could like raise their vibration from like where you've studied and where you understand? Just people on their own, let's just say they're not really into spirituality too much, but you know, whatever. They just like, they're curious.
Yeah, I think
meditate.
You know, allowing yourself to kind of perceive the world in a different lens. So being at a place of presence and coming and seeing the world from a place of innocence, like coming back into that inner child that was most innocent. And because we really get to see things for what they are and like all of their details and things like that nature, it's like full presence in each moment will help to raise your vibration. And inviting your witness in. And so like the witness just sees things for what it is. It doesn't attach to any story or outcome. So it's not worried about the past and it's not worried about the future. It's fully in the present and it's just witnessing everything. But it's at the same time simultaneously feeling everything. And so not turning away from the suffering, not pushing away the emotions, fully feeling it all, but just not attaching to the story where you start spiraling in it. That's a huge frequency.
That's just the pattern I see with everyone. They're like, stay in the present moment. Don't worry too much about the past because it's already gone. Don't worry too much about the future because it's probably not going to turn out the way you want it to, or it might. But just worry about the present moment. Right. Like that's just like a pattern I see with a lot of people that I talk to, which there's definitely something there. One of my favorite guys that talks about this is Eckhart Tolle. The Power of Now. It's just a book he wrote. Super interesting. But I don't know. Yeah. Well, because what is there's this other saying: if you have one leg in the past and one leg in the future, you're pissing on the present moment. Right. so yeah, cold showers will definitely get you in the moment, the present moment. That is. Yeah. That there's something, and it's free.
Yeah, exactly.
So I always encourage people to do it. Yeah, and it heals people. It helps with blood flow. I don't know. I just think it's awesome.
Yeah. I've heard some profound stories about cold showers and ice baths, like with bipolar disorder, mental health, any sort of mental health type of issues, ADD. It's been, I've heard some like miracle type of stories with it. So
cool. Random question. Have you ever tried to stop time? Because time is something we make up, like consciously. And I've been actually doing this meditation where they're like, you go to this place where there's no, like, you're guided there. And like, I feel so weird because literally, like, you're kind of able to stop time because this meditation lasted an hour. And then within that 10 minutes of me getting there, like, next time I know the hour's gone. Like, what happened? Have you ever tried to like stop time or slow it down? Anything like that?
Not necessarily. I think it's just more so about how I am utilizing my time. And there's this goddess Kali in Hindu culture. She's like the keeper of time. So it's like I'm like in this realm of like her time essentially, but like how am I going to utilize my time? You know, like how am I being present? Am I, spiraling on social media or, more so about again being fully present and like what my awareness is and where my I guess, my North Star, how I'm going to be in service and how I'm going to be in devotion, and navigating through that. That's the best answer I have for that.
Okay,
It's just how I
cool. Yeah, no
utilize
problem.
it.
I just experiment with different like
Mhm.
meditations because I'm really big on meditation. Sometimes like it just leads me to different
Right,
avenues, you could say, that I want to try. Like you said, get out of your comfort
right.
zone. And this is just like one of them. It's kind of trippy though, because the only time I've ever experienced like time stopping is when I did like a dark meditation retreat
Mm.
where you're in the hole for a couple of days. There's no sound, no light, and then you just lose track of time and space. And yeah, that was trippy.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah,
do one of those. Actually, I heard about Aubrey
do it.
Marcus's.
Yeah, he did the one in Germany, I
Yeah,
believe. I did the one in Guatemala.
yeah. I haven't done a darkness retreat. That's in the in the works of manifesting, but I did do a vision quest where I was in the mountains, in the middle out nowhere on a tarp, and I fasted for 4 days, and time definitely felt like it was going a lot slower. Just no
No cell
cell
phone,
phone,
no
no food,
selfies,
just
nothing.
water.
No water, or were you okay? So you
Yeah,
were
I
on
had
water.
water,
Okay.
and no tent, just a tarp. Like,
Actually, my friend, he's a medical doctor. Actually, he flew to Greece. He's in Greece right now. He's doing a 30-day water
mm,
cleanse, but he's like supervised by other doctors. He has his own private room on the beach. I was like, hey, dude, this is pretty
yeah,
nice, but it's just water for
hmm
30 days. He's like, apparently, like he started explaining the science of it. I was like, hey, bro, this is way over my head. But yeah, I heard it's very beneficial. It cleans you out,
right.
detoxes you.
Yeah, I felt great. I mean, it
Yeah.
was as powerful as a ayahuasca ceremony for me. Vision quest, there was no medicine, but it was as powerful as that. Just being submerged in nature, you just like sink into it, and you realize you are nature. It's pretty profound.
When you mean you have a vision quest, what is it like? You just go in with intention, and then after that, you're just like in the mountains for 4 days,
Yeah, well, for
hippie
me, it
style.
was like a rite of passage. So I work under 2 shamans as well, and who teach me, and work in medicine, ayahuasca circle. And we have these other events. So we do like vision quests, and it's traditionally, I believe, from Lakota. So it's a Native American tradition, where you go out. So the idea is that you want to get a vision. So you create these prayer ties with tobacco and little square cloths that represent each direction. And I did the 7 directions. So north, south, east, west, above or below, into the heart. And then you're praying, and you're creating the container with putting tobacco in these little squares, tying them up. So you have this long string, like 400 prayer ties that you created your container while praying.
Okay.
And you set that up around your campsite, and then you sit with nature, and you just receive downloads, and you get your vision.
Sounds like a sigil. Do you know what that is? A sigil. Say it's the same thing. It's like where a witch writes down
Oh,
something,
yeah.
intention, and then they burn it, or you just
Mm-hmm.
cast it into the universe, and then it just ends up eventually coming back to you. So yeah, that's what it sounds like. So you do 400 of them. It has to be 400. That's the exact number, or it's just like somewhere around there.
I think the tradition is like 408 or something like that, or 308. But I think I did as much as I could. I did like 400, and
Cool.
I think originally I wanted to do like 700, but I was like, there's no way. So
Nah, I'm sure there's a way. Give it a few more weeks. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. You live in the Western world.
It was
There's
just
a time
very
crunch.
intentional, very tedious work.
Good. And where have you learned these things from? Do you like learn them in books? do you just like, I don't know, YouTube, or do you have like other coaches or mentors? Sounds like you have like two of them that are older than you, or just wiser than you.
Yeah. So I work with two shamans who are much older, whom I receive a lot of wisdom and teachings and transmissions, initiations myself. And then I also work with another woman who, so, you know, we're kind of a bouquet of Eastern philosophy. So I do, you know, study the Vedas, the Vedic teachings and the Bhagavad Gita, and, you know, all of those ancient texts. And so I'm teaching myself and then, you know, learning from my shamans, and then this other woman who gets me connected to like Sanskrit mantras and like how to pronounce everything correctly and ceremonies. Like,
do you think that pronunciation really matters at all, or is it more like the tone, like somehow you're vibrating your pineal gland? Because I feel like the words are really insignificant, but the way they're pronounced, they send off a certain vibration in your body, and it sends it off to there beyond. What are your thoughts on that?
The way that she described it was they're like action mantras that actually it dissolves, like it takes like a rock and like hammers it and dissolves like essentially like the ego. So it's like important that you do pronounce some of these mantras the perfect way, and it hits certain parts. Some of it's in the back of your teeth, some of it's right on the roof of your mouth, and then there's like 3 parts of your throat: the front, the middle, and the back. So it's like very intricate on like how because it does activate certain parts of the brain, and
it does, yeah, I mean, I guess you have to pronounce it correctly to activate certain parts of the breath, but I never try to really like hang on to like the words, like you have to say this word and that word, but I guess the way you pronounce it might be vital if you want to like activate a certain part of your brain.
Right, and I think that intention, not fake it till you make it, but if you're really, from a place of purity, I guess, and you're chanting certain mantras and it's not perfect, I don't think it's like off with their head or anything like that, but I think it's just a desire to try to learn the right way, because our Western tongue is like, we're so programmed, and it's a lot more complex with different languages, or we're just not used to it, not programmed that way,
we're not used to it. Yeah, technically we are programmed that way, we just like we don't practice enough, because kids, they're born being able to speak every single language in the world, because every time you hear certain things, like you turn on TV, it's English, you go to the bank, it's English, you watch the news, it's English, you gotta learn English, and you gotta learn this complete new language. Yeah, so I think we have it, but like you're saying, like you have to practice it, right? It's like anything in life. Another question, this is something I'm really interested in. You said you're aware of the breath, like Kundalini breath. Can you tell us a little more of what that is and like how you incorporate it? Because I've been working on that for a while. It works wonders, but also I've heard like dark things about it, like people that aren't ready, or some people that just jump into it. They just have like the dark night of the soul. Can you elaborate on that?
It's a developmental practice that cannot be rushed, and people who do get psychosis and things of that nature, from my viewpoint, is that they were chasing power. And
they're chasing power.
And it's okay to want power, but it has to be done. There's like these initiations and things that have to, like these rites of passages that have to be complete before you can move on to the next level of your soul's evolution. And divinity knows best. You don't know, it's like, so when you get where it's like, oh, I need, I want it more and this and that, and you push it, it's like all egoic from there. And so then that's when you get blown out. And a lot of times where,
That actually makes perfect sense. Because I go to these meditation retreats. One of the people that I really like is Joe Dispenza.
Yes,
I don't know if you ever heard of him. Yeah. So I go. There's a lot of people that are very like older. They have a lot of money and they're serious. And there's a lot of people that it's their last chance. Like their oncologist, their cancer doctor send them there. Like there's no hope for you. That's it. You're on hospice. So it's like their last hope. They do it. Like these people have never done meditation. They've never done anything. Like this is whatever. If it works, it works, or else I'm dead. And boom, they're able to like blast off, or pop, as they say. And I think what it is they give it 150% because all they want is one thing, is just to get healthy. Those people are able to just like hit the wall and just break through it. They call it popping. Because like I've seen it happen in front of me. People just yell uncontrollably at the top of their voice for like 30 seconds and fall to the floor. They're having like a 30-minute seizure. And then like afterwards, I was like there, like, and I'm like, hey, are you okay? And then they just hugged me like, I love you so much. I'm like, okay, like yeah. But yeah, there's also other people that just randomly do it, and then they have psychosis. So what you said really makes sense. Maybe they're just chasing power because those people weren't really sick. They're just there for the experience. But that actually totally makes sense in my head now.
It's important to work through the chakra system. And so, like, the more grounded you are, the higher you can go. And a lot of people have a lot of resistance towards being grounded and working on those first two chakras, the first and second, the root and the sacral. And those are the most important. And that's where the Kundalini rises, And so, and that's where all of our ancestral lineage, pattern, trauma, it's important to work through that process and how you show up for your relationships and the wounding and codependency and a lot to do with the emotional body. So if we skip that part, there's going to be some issues. Like it's all going to be energies up here and you're not going to be grounded enough to hold it. For me, my Kundalini, my first Kundalini activation happened in an ayahuasca ceremony, and I had no idea what was happening. And it was essentially how you're describing, like seizure-like convulsions, and my body was just uncontrollably having these convulsions, and I realized that I was having this like Kundalini experience, and from there. I was like, ooh, I like, I don't want to push it, but I'm like interested in it. And it was a very slow, expanded, process. So I would receive these, Kundalini activations is what I call them. And so I've had a few activations, and so now I can channel as I want to, essentially, but there's always more developmental process because if you fully rise your full Kundalini, then you're completely enlightened, but you don't want to force it too soon because then you're not grounded enough.
Well, some people are just like super desperate. They have stage 4 cancer. They're dying in 3 months. So they kind of have to. Those are the people that have the most profound experiences, really. Because I'm telling you, they just give it 120%. Like, because sick people only want one thing, just to be healthy, right? So they're able to. I don't know. I mean, at that point, it's like just talk to yourself. I don't know. Like, I mean, you can get healthy and deal with that shit afterwards. I guess. Yeah. Or you're gonna die. So yeah. Yeah, that's super interesting. There's science to back this up now. So what they do is they put fMRIs, like brain scans, or actually neurofeedback machines, actually, to be quite honest, like 32 points. And then they have people do a Kundalini breath and blast off, like their brainwaves completely change off of the spectrum. So the theory, actually, it's not even a theory anymore, that our brains have like an antenna in it, the pineal gland. And it's kind of like rusty because we haven't really used it. And then like when you do the Kundalini breath, it polishes off the dust, and then this antenna catches certain frequencies, like your phone. So where are these frequencies coming from? What are these frequencies? How do we get more of it? That's I
mean, it's cosmic, it's Shakti.
Yeah, but I try to talk to other people about this that are like medical professionals. They're like, you're crazy. I was like, no, bitch. I was like, there's plenty of evidence, bro. Here's this from the CIA. There's remote viewing. There's this. There's people that were
Right.
playing with this since the 50s. There's like tons and tons of research. And they're like, no, yeah, I hear you're crazy. I was like, no, I'm really not. I'm just following the facts. Like, you know, literally, I'm just following the facts, and the facts point that it's definitely possible. So there's, have you ever heard of the Moreau Institute?
I don't think so.
Or have you ever heard of the Gateway Experience?
I don't think so.
It's pretty much like the CIA's remote viewing. Have you heard of that? Yeah, so like the same guy that did that, he's the one that coined the out-of-body experience. He has, hemisync. Anyways, I'm like messing around with that now. It's like different like downloads you just get. Like literally, like you're in this really calm place, and then he's like, just ask the universe the question you came in for, and you do, and just answer just pops into my head out of nowhere. Like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Yeah. Well, you're saying yeah, like it's normal. I mean, I guess it is normal, but it's just I haven't been brought up that way, you know?
Like I said, a developmental process, you know, it's like you're waking up to all that is you, essentially. Everything that you ever known is not it, you know, but everything that you are is way beyond your mind could ever comprehend. So it's like...
Right. But I am becoming more content that I
That's
know
a perfect place to be.
The universe.
You have to. Because, the more you know, the less you know. It's a weird paradox thing. It's like, the more...
Yeah. Well, that's why I started this podcast, because every time I talk to someone, I learn more stuff, but then I'm left with more questions than answers. But that's a good place to be, because it just, like you said in the beginning of the podcast, that just brings up my childhood curiosity. Like now I'm more curious. Like, oh, what's happening here? And I'm looking at it from a childhood perspective, like everything's possible, you know? And why not? That's how you should look at it versus like a pessimistic, no, we can't do this. You're stuck in this timeline, whatever.
Right.
You know? I don't know. Yeah. Tell me a little more about do you have like an institute or like, because I know you mentor people. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Right now I have 2 intensives. I have one called the Bliss Program, and then I have one called Manifesting Bliss, which is like the next level. And so the first program is a 5-month intensive that's spread over a period of time. So we don't get it done in 5. So it's more so like a 6 to 7 month program, because we have a couple breaks. But we go into, you know, childhood trauma, our patternings, programmings, the ego, the shadow. We do all 7 chakra initiations. I provide an embodiment. I do a soul retrieval, so some shamanic types of healing. And towards the end, you learn how to cultivate and create your own style of healing. And so I pretty much essentially teach you how to be a channel and how you want to show up for your community in service and devotion, and getting you connected to a sadhana practice and, you know, your source. A part of my work here on this earth is to get women, especially women, connected to their source.
Hey, what about
I do
guys?
work with some guys. It's just more so women that come to me, but always open to...
Yeah, I feel like more women are drawn to that type of stuff, because men are like more macho and masculine, and more women are like more, I don't want to say witchcraft, because that has a negative connotation, but it's like an umbrella. So they're like, oh, I have this power in me that I can unleash.
Right.
Like, cool.
Right, and it's been a lot of suppression. And that is the rise of the divine feminine. I feel right now there's been a lot of men have their own trauma, not, you know, throwing that to the side. But, you know, for women, it's always been like certain role that we have to play, cleaning the house and, you know, keeping things tidy. Like, you can do all that, and you can also be a goddess too, you know.
It could be anything you want, all right? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you could be anything you want. Like, I don't want to knock on anyone. Just don't put other people down, I would say. Or just like, because you know what it is? I see some people that are like becoming more spiritual. And then what's funny is like they're like, you don't meditate, you don't do this, like, yeah, and then they start talking. Now I'm like, that's like the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Like of what you should be doing, you know? Like I guess like they're just like they try something new and it's kind of working for them, and then they bash on people that don't do it. And I'm like, dude, that's like the complete
Yeah,
opposite of
that's
what you're supposed to do.
you know, I
I,
see that happening a lot as well in the spiritual community, where people get to a certain level and they think that they know it all, and then they're like, oh, I know, you know. It's like also the ego, because that's the thing about it, is that like as you expand, the ego finds new ways and new pathways to like interact, like find its new home and how it's gonna like play out in your life. And so you have to you're always
yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
dancing with this ego, but you have to always come from a place of conscious awareness to see like where you're getting caught, because we are all one, you know, we're all one consciousness. So it's like you're no better than anybody else, and it just creates more karma when you try to force something on somebody. You don't give it to them unless they ask. Agree. You know, it's like
Gandhi said this best. If you want to see the world change, start by changing yourself. That's it, dude. Just be the change. And people start asking you like, hey, what's going on? Like, you've been trying something new? I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this. Just try it out. But don't try to drag you down people's throats. I feel like that
exactly,
really
and that would be if they could look at it from a bigger picture perspective, that the person that they're arguing with or trying to convince, that's a perfect mirror for them, you know, because we're mirrors for each other, to learn for each other, to see where's that control coming from? Like, you know, why do I feel the need to control people's experiences, and, you know, like stuff like that, like be able to see different things about, because we're always learning, you know, it's a constant learning. So
yeah, it is. I mean, I even talked to elders, and they're like, yeah, we're still learning. And these people like have been like born into this stuff, been doing it for years and years. And they're like, yeah, we're still learning. Like, I'm gonna go learn this. And I was like, that's awesome. You should be like that. I like, just be wary of the people that say, I know everything, or I have all the answers, and my way is the only way. Just be very wary of those people. Yeah, they really don't. Or maybe they had it at one point, they lost it. Or
and I don't know. The bottom line is like, it's your experience. You can have it. Like, some people just come in here to simply be a human, you know, like, and that's okay. Like, it's beautiful. And, you know, their version of freedom might be different than my version of freedom, but it's still this expression of divinity. You know what I mean? And so, we came here to have a human experience. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, true. Okay. See change, holistic healing. Yeah. See change in yourself. I get it. Last question. I always like to ask people this. What advice would you have for people that want to change the world, or actually like that are in a really bad place? They need to change themselves, or they're depressed or sad. What advice would you be able to give them?
Well, there's 3 questions that I ask myself every day. I say, how can I serve the world? How can I serve my community? And how can I serve myself? And to serve the world, we can't really change the world. So we love the world. We love it. And just sending love, you know, to people who have it not as good, you know, or who are suffering, or who don't get food on the table, and sending love if you're in the position. And then for your community, you know, there comes a point, because I feel like for me, like, I was extremely depressed before I found purpose, service, devotion. And for me, like, service has like cleared all of that up for me. So this is my personal, like, you know, what worked for me. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, you know. It could be simple as like just spreading kindness, you know, or, you know, volunteering for something. Because when you start to shift your perspective and your mindset to more positive outlook on life, and that it's not as so heavy or bad, then your reality starts to shift, and you start to see the beauty in the world, and that you're needed, and your light is needed. And that is so true. Everybody's light is needed, and everybody is, has their own medicine to bring to this world. And then how you serve yourself, and I feel like that's always going to be kind of changeable, like how can you, provide the things that you need for yourself so you can be in service, and so you can keep your mind clear. That's the main thing. Keep you gotta tame this thing, because you get this thing going and running, and you're in a spiral. And because that's the thing about the shadow too, is that it puts a lot of cast on self-hate. You have to kind of see things from a different perspective to be like, those are just my thoughts. It's not actually me. It doesn't define me. Can't be labeled, can't be put in a box like, society and trauma and everything has put me in. It's a practice, but it's just, like connecting with that innocence again. I think that's really what we're doing, is kind of reconnecting to our innocence, in a way.
Yeah, I am. And I'm childish. I don't care. Whatever. I'm 35.
And
still be a kid. No gray hair.
So like, do things that bring out your inner child. Go dance in the rain, or go bowling, or buy your favorite candy, and stop being so hard on yourself.
I agree. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rada, for jumping on my podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, check out Sea Change Holistic Healing. You also do like virtual mentoring also, right? Like people just set it up. You don't have to be in person.
Everything is virtual. I do in person if you're in the area, but most of my business is all virtual, all remote. So
cool. I'll post your info online. Thank you again for jumping on. This is actually a pretty informative podcast. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll definitely catch you next time. Take care.